So, Federica, what would you like to know about project writing and project management? Let me explain you. We have a lot of resources here that maybe will help you.
Well, there are plenty of things that I would like to know about management. So, first of all, what is project management?
Okay, so we have some pieces here that will help us understand what project management is. So, when you're managing a project, the first thing you need to have is a project, right?
Mhm.
So, a project is an idea that you develop that is based in a need, and then it's a need that you cannot develop or you cannot solve or reduce on your own in the organization where you're working.
Mhm.
So, for instance, you need to have, if you cannot solve it on your own, then you're going to need partners who know something that you don't know,
Mhm.
and they can help you create a project. Yeah. So these partners, so you see there are quite a few partners, and these partners, they can be at national level if that's an issue that you need to solve only at national level, or sometimes you need to learn things from different organizations abroad because at national level you don't have network enough, and then these would be the partners from different countries. So let's say when there was the economic crisis, for instance.
Mhm.
So one of the countries that was very hit by the crisis was Portugal. Then there was Spain, there was Italy. So one of the projects that we have done was, let's say this is Spain, this is Italy,
Mhm.
and then we created a project together with one of the Nordic countries, so
Okay.
Sweden, and with Poland, who never had big rates of unemployment, so that these countries who had an issue and they didn't know how to solve it and they didn't know how to support young people, they could develop a project together with other organizations who didn't have the same issue, so that they could learn from each other. So then these two countries, they would come in order to deliver some competences to these countries so that they would be able to support their youngsters.
So, do you mean that you select like other partners based on needs and based on expertise? That's how you choose them.
Yes, exactly.
And where do you select your partners?
You mean where do I find the partners?
Yes, where do you find them?
Uh,
Are there any platforms or?
we work normally with the program Erasmus+. So
Mhm.
I can tell you in the base of the support that we provide to organizations,
Mhm.
and within the program there are different kind of sectors. So depending on the sectors that you want to work with, then you also have platforms which were developed at European level where you can look for partners. So if we're talking about the sector of youth, so supporting young people and youth workers. So youth workers, they develop at professional level so that they can improve their work with young people, and young people can develop at personal level so that they can become better people in the future and better adult youngsters, and then adults. Then there is a platform dedicated to look for partners in the sector of youth. Then there are also other networks which are dedicated for the sector of adult education. So let's say if you have an adult center, so let's say a language school or a senior university, and you would like to support either the adult teachers, so the people working with the adults, or the adult learners, so the ones who come to learn, and you would like to look for partners in this field, then you need to use one of the platforms that are also developed from the European Commission, and there you can find partners related to the field of adult education. And then if it's the school education, so schools and teachers and students, then there are other platforms that have been developed. But I would say that one of the easiest ways to know your partners, because let's put it this way, if you're developing a project with a partner, so you need them as much as they need you, right? So if you're gonna have to work together, it's like a dance that you both will need to know the steps, right?
Okay.
So when you go on platforms and you just start creating a project with a partner, then it can go very well or it can go very wrong because you don't know the partner,
All right.
right? So there are networking events and there are trainings and there are activities which are already at European level, and you have representatives of different institutions,
Mhm.
and that's where you meet together. So you would meet all your partners together.
Mhm.
You would meet people who are working with social inclusion, let's say. So
Okay.
they're working with refugees, migrants, and there is a training on social inclusion. So then you know that these people who come together for the training, they are related to this topic. So then when you know them, you also know how they're working, and you can speak with them and you can get to know them better than if it's just a meeting online, or if
Mhm.
it's just signing documents and discussing stuff online. So I think the face-to-face networking events or online networking events, they give you more guarantees You can never have 100% guarantees,
Mhm.
but they can give you more guarantees on how easy or how difficult it is to work with a partner, because you will have the feeling if you are able to work with this person or not.
But where do you find these kind of events where you can meet other institutions, other partners? Is there a
Uh,
specific platform for that
you
too?
can join trainings,
Mm-hmm.
you can join networking events. There are national agencies. So the way how the funds are divided is, do you know how funds are divided?
Not really, I
Okay.
think.
So when you go for a project that is co-funded by one of the European institutions, that doesn't mean anything else than people who are paying taxes. So all of us, we're paying taxes. The taxes go to Brussels, and then Brussels divides the taxes at national
Oh,
level to the national agencies within the European Union member states
okay.
and the countries which have a certain agreement with the EU. Um, and so what happens is that each country which is an EU member state has a national agency.
All right.
And these national agencies sometimes they organize events. So one of the easiest ways is to check what the national agencies are promoting.
Mm-hmm.
So there are TCA events which are promoted by the national agencies, which are trainings,
Okay.
or there are other kind of events, conferences, stuff. And then in these places you can meet people who want to support their local communities and regional communities and national communities. Or there is a platform which is Salto Youth, which is related to
Mm.
s-
Okay.
to young to the field of youth.
Yes.
There are there is Epale, which is dedicated to adult education, and then you can go and you can see what people are developing. There is the ErasmusPlus project results platform, where a training can be a result of a project, and then it can be there. It's less common, but it can happen. And then again, if it's the school education, then you have the school education platform.
Okay.
So that is where you find this information. Or if you're working or cooperating with an organization, with an institution, with a municipality, and they have a project, then they're gonna look for within the networks and the people who support them. They will be looking for who could join these events.
All right.
And then if you're close to the community and if you're close to the organizations, then you know where these events take place, because they will be looking for people to go abroad, to develop, to come back, and to implement the knowledge at local level.
All right. And getting back to project management, what does the role of project manager consist of? What is the daily life of a project manager?
Okay. Within the program, there are a lot of different kind of projects. So depending on the project that you're applying for, project management can mean a lot of different things. So you may have a project manager. So let's say if we have a training, that's one of the maybe the easiest, or a youth exchange. So there is a mobility. There are people coming together to a place. They meet together. They develop some sort of competences. So a project manager is a person who is in charge of managing the whole project. So that means the project has different stages, and there is the moment of planning for the project submission. So understanding what is the need, understanding what is the need in relation to the partners, understanding how we put this need into our local communities, discuss it together, understand which budget do we have, so how much money can we apply for, what does the program gives us in matter of trainings or youth exchanges, and this is called the preparation for submission. Then when you know what you want to do and how to argue that you need to get funding for this activity, you submit your project. There is a deadline, and then it's basically a competition in which at national level all the organizations which are applying for funds, they're going to wait for the deadline, they're going to write, and they're going to submit the project up to a certain date and hour, which is established by the European Commission because it's a centralized deadline. Then you wait a couple of months. Normally it lasts between 2 to 4 months, and you wait for the results. So if your project succeeds to receive the fund, you have your budget coming, and the national agency says, okay, we can fund your project. We believe that what you want to do makes sense. So then the project manager is in charge of collecting again with the partners and say, okay, our project was financed. Let's discuss what we have to do now. Let's discuss how do we prepare these participants. Let's read the application form again, because we have written the application form 3 months ago, 4 months ago, so we will forget what that is. And then the role of the project managers, because each partner will have a manager who is in charge either of providing materials to the organization which submitted the grant, or the project manager, who is the manager at the organization which manages the fund. The role is to monitor the project development according to what we compromise ourselves to do. So it goes from preparing for the activities. So preparation means that if we need hotel, we're going to contact hotels. If we need food, we're going to check budget for food, materials, preparing info packs so that the participants know where the activity takes place, what are the rules, for funding and for reimbursement if there are travels abroad, because normally there are. And how it happens is there is the main project coordinator who is in charge of delivering this information to the national coordinators at local level, at national level within the partners. And then the partners who have the coordinators, they're going to spread the information with the people who would be the participants. So this is called the preparation stage.
Mhm.
Then there is the implementation stage, which is when people come together and they meet for 5-7 days of a training course. So then they would meet, they would go through a training. So that means that they would develop competences, not only knowledge, not only skills, but there is the development of a competence related to the topic that there is. There was already the schedule that was drafted when you submitted the project before, which was also accepted by the national agency. And sometimes we also have in the preparation stage, we meet with the participants so that they know what's going to happen, they can reflect on their learning, they can set learning goals and all of this. And then the project is implemented. There is the training activity we learn. Normally within the youth sector, we work with non-formal learning, which is a framework which is defined also at European level. And when we go home, so when the training activity finishes, this is not the end, because we're just half of the project at the moment. So the project manager is probably going to be at the place, is going to check what's happening with the food, what's happening with the hotel. It's going to also divide the participants into the rooms. So all this information, managing diets, managing if there are people with disabilities that need extra reinforcement support, or if there are people who have difficulties with the language. So if that is needed, reinforced support for understanding and participating in the training. So anything that is related to that. And then when the training activity ends, the project coordinator, so normally within the training, we also plan the follow-up and the dissemination activity. And the coordinator is going to go, after the time that was set for the participants to do the activities, is going to go again to the coordinators at national level and ask, okay, so today is the 5th of September. Your participants told us that until the 5th of September, they would have some dissemination activities. So where are the documentation that shows us that you have done these activities? So again, the role is to monitor the project implementation, collect the evidence that the things were developed according to what was submitted in the beginning and what was approved. Evaluate all the stages of the project, so evaluating the training activity, evaluating with the participants and with the partners the whole stages of the project, and then submitting the final report, which is basically showing to the national agency that we have done what we have compromised ourselves to do, and here are the proofs of what we have done, here are the documentation, here are the pictures. So all of this is a project life cycle, which when you receive funding for a project, you receive an investment to continue developing your local realities. So when the project ends, ideally, one of the things that you need to plan from the very beginning is how do you ensure sustainability of the project?
Mm.
So what happens after the project ends? Do we go home and the money was invested for one project that lasted 10 days, that lasted 10 months? Or what do we do afterwards? So if we created new tools, then it's natural that we will need to improve the tools after a while.
Mhm.
Or we're going to try to reach other people and other youth workers who can take benefit from it, and we will go to new countries, try to implement it. So this is called sustainability. What happens after the project ends to ensure the continuity of the results that were developed within the project.
All right.
And the coordinator is in charge of coordinating all of this. And sometimes there are also financial coordinators who are in charge of the financial part of it, and the monitoring coordinators, which are in charge of the quality of the project implementation.
And that's, of course, a lot of work, but where do you learn these things from? Is there a course that you followed before becoming a project manager, or do you just learn by practice? Where do you find all the technical information in order to success in this work?
Okay, good question. Thank you. So the program Erasmus Plus has a program guide, which is the main document that whoever works with the program is going to look for the information in the program guide, including the national agencies. So the program guide is created and ratified by the European Union institutions. So and when it's published, there are all the information related to what you want to do and what you can do. Now it's a document. It's a document that has over 300 pages. So when people start reading it, they sometimes stop breathing. The good news is that you don't have to read the whole program guide in order to implement your projects. The most important is that if you know what you want to do, then you go and in the program guide, you look only for the information that is important for you. So then from 300 pages, you may have 10 pages that are needed for you. So the program tells you what are the priorities of the program, what are the features of the program, what you can do within the program and what you can ask for finance or what you cannot. And then if you have questions, that's what the national agencies are there for, to also provide you support and answers to anything that you may need related to understanding the program guide. Within EU Training Academy, we also have online courses, and we actually do that a lot, and we support the organizations in understanding the program, creating the projects, creating the budgets for the projects, and writing the projects. And we also have courses online which you can do on your own, so that you can go and check. And so that's one of the ways to look for the information and to have access to the information, so that you don't just do things by doing them and by learning and by making mistakes that you don't know if you're doing it right or wrong. But a lot of things are quality assessed within the program guide.
All
And that
right.
is the information.
But if I'm not mistaken, the program guide is updated. I don't know if each year or every once in a while. So you have to check it constantly, right? You cannot just think that you learn it once and then it will be the same data forever, right?
When the commission accepts the program guide, there is a time frame that is accepted. So for instance, at the moment, we are implementing a program that started in 2021 and is going to be into place until 2027. So we know the rules until 2027. And then once or twice a year, there is a small update of the program guide. So you don't need to read everything again. You just need to go and you need to check that if you want to apply for a youth exchange, then you go and you read. So let's say the next deadline now is going to be in February. So before February, what you will do is you're going to go to these 10 pages related to youth exchanges and you just check if something has changed. So that's going to take
All right.
half an hour of your day.
So it's not as hard as it seems from one
Yes,
side.
if you look at it from the big picture, as I said, a lot of people can stop breathing because it's a lot. But then when you go step by step, and especially if you go step by step with somebody who knows how to help you, then it's much easier, and it's really easy because there have been so many people doing it. It cannot be
Yes,
impossible.
because as you said, it's not about just the project manager, but there are also other roles involved. So of course, there is space for collaboration and for understanding better.
And that's a good thing that you have said, because if you're working with a team, then you also have a team who are going to be looking for different things. So the financial manager will go and will check what budget there is. A good thing with projects as training courses and youth exchanges is that everything is automatically generated by the program. So you don't create a budget. You enter how many people are traveling from where to where for how many days, and the system automatically gives you a calculation. If there are bigger projects, so within key action 2 projects, then you need to create your own budget, which it's also in another way is also easier because you have freedom to do it, you have flexibility. But for instance, the financial manager is going to look for, okay, which budget do we have? The project coordinator is going to look for, okay, what is written in the application form that we need to do. The trainer is going to look and is going to say, okay, what is included in preparing for the training activity and implementing and evaluating the training activity. And then also each one of them, if they need to be updated, they will be updated in different places. And again, from these 10 pages, then each one of them is going to have 3, 4, 5 pages. So if you have a team, that's going to help you a lot.
But I have a question regarding the financial part, because I know that there are specific lump sums that are for different kind of projects. How can you forecast the lump sum that fits you for your project in advance? Because sometimes I find hard to just visualize the amount of money that you need for your project. How can you forecast that? Do you do some specific calculation regarding that? Or how do you manage that?
You can know is by going to the platform where you would write the application form, and you can create an application form and you can write, okay, I'm going to have 30 participants in 5 days in Poland, traveling from Italy, from Spain, from the Netherlands, and the system is going to give you the calculation so that
But
you know.
is all the material, like, are all the materials that you need included in this calculation? And also, how do you know how much you will spend with the venue and all unexpected costs? Because for sure there will be something maybe unexpected. How do you think about that in advance?
A good thing with the program Erasmus Plus, as you said, is that it's based in a lump sum.
Mhm.
So basically, that means that at internal level, the organizations have to organize how to manage the budget. So that means that if you decide to pay more for a hotel, then you're going to have less for different things. If you decide to pay more for the professionals who are working, then you're going to have less for the hotel. So that's one of the things. Another thing and another good news is that as long as with the partners you agree what to do, nobody's going to tell you that you cannot do it.
Mhm.
So for instance, I had youth exchanges in which the youngsters, they decided that they want to go camping.
Mhm.
So then there was no budget which was that high for sleeping and accommodation because they had tents and they could stay outside.
Mhm.
So then you knew that, okay, so from this budget, we know that we need to buy 15 tents. We need to spend this amount. So you go on the website where to look for tents, you look how much that would cost, you plan it. You contact the place which would bring you the food. You ask them for the budget for this amount of people, for this amount of days. They give it to you. And then you just create a budget in which if you have 15,000 euros, you plan, okay, so from these 15,000 euros, I have 3,000 for this uh, place in the budget. I have 2,000 for this place in the budget. And normally we divide the travels from the individual support because there are two different things. So the individual support is the budget that you get for people to stay in a place, eat, and pay the salaries and all of that. And then the travel is the budget that you have to reimburse the participants, which normally it's set by the program, and unless it's internally agreed by the partners, that means that if the participants have this amount of budget, they can use this amount of budget.
Mhm.
Then if they don't use it, then in the end you can think what to do with this budget, but the priority is to give it for the travels because that's what it's planned for.
All right, but if maybe this is a very basic question, but if you have a lot of money that is remaining to you and you didn't use it for the project, where does this money go? Maybe it's a
It
very
can,
stupid
yeah.
question, but where does it
No,
go?
it's actually a very good question, and the organizations has asked me that a lot. So it can go to anything that is related to the implementation of the project. So again, that depends a lot on what you compromise yourself with doing. But it can go to follow-up activities. It can go to pay trainers to go and deliver workshops. It can pay for the renting of rooms because you want to have young people. So let's say you had a youth exchange on the topic of social media learning. Yeah, so you have learned about social media, and now you want these youngsters to be the leaders of throughout the follow-up activity, implementing workshops with other youngsters and bringing what they have learned to the other youngsters. So naturally, you're going to have to rent rooms for the workshops. You're going to have snacks or any kind of food that you will provide for these youngsters.
Right.
And you can have one workshop, you can have 10 workshops, you can get 15 workshops.
All right.
So it depends a lot. You can have a study visit activity throughout the youth exchange, in which probably you also will have to pay something for it. So it's very much about starting from planning your budget, and then if you really see that there is some budget that has remained, then keep savings in case something happens and in case things change. And then with the remaining is thinking, okay, so how can we wisely distribute this budget now so that we can promote the project, we can pay newspapers, we can pay social media, we can pay radio stations to go and have a podcast, for instance, after the youth exchange. And so all of this, if it's related to promoting what we have developed within the mobility, so the youth exchange, it's very much related to the project.
Maybe one last question about the financial aspect. So, where do you earn your money from? Where does your salary come from? Because okay, we are speaking about how to spend money for the project itself, but then who pays you for your work?
So if you work for the project, who pays you for your work? The project.
The project itself. So this comes from the budget.
Yes, this comes from you planning this budget. So when you're planning this budget, you can plan accommodation, food, facilitators, project coordinators, financial coordinators, accountant who is
But-
also working.
But who establishes the amount that you have to get? You, yourself, for yourself, basically.
Yes.
All right. So there's no national agency that will tell you
No.
how much you can
No,
earn.
they
from
give you
the
the
project.
budget to implement the activities. If you implement the activities as you promised, it's up to you to manage with more or with less. And it's your responsibility as a project management manager to know what you do with the budget. And as long as you achieve the project results, you implement the activities as you were supposed to implement it. It's an internal question on what do we do with this budget so that we can reach these goals that we have promised. We can promote the change that we have ensured we will promote, and then people do not work for free, so that's part of the
Of
budget.
course, but I imagine that there is also discussion with the other partners. So there will be a meeting where all partners are established.
There should be.
There should be. But in the reality, it doesn't work every time.
Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. That's a lot based on what you agree with your partners. I would say the easiest for you not to have troubles is to agree the things with the partners.
All right.
And I would say that one of the biggest mistakes that I see working with organizations within projects, it doesn't matter what kind of projects there are, is that the organizations, they think that they can manage on their own. So the national agencies are going to understand that you cannot manage on your own because we don't see the partners involved in the project.
Mm-hmm.
So most probably the project is not going to be approved because the evaluators will come and will ask you, but if there are partners and you're working alone, then why do you need partners in the first place?
All right.
Right? So that's one of the things, because when the projects are assessed, that's what the evaluators will see. We'll see if it makes sense to implement this project, how you got to these needs, how you prove that this need is real, how you involved your partners if they are needed, and that includes also the budget. Naturally, if an activity is implemented in, let's say, Poland, then the majority of the spend will go to Poland because we have to host your people who are coming to Poland from Italy, from Spain, from Greece. We need to host them in Poland. So this is the biggest amount of budget allocation in implementing a project. But then if I need the Italian partner to do social media because they're very good with social media and they can promote the project. So we can agree with them that, okay, so in the end, we will be dividing the budget and I can pay you for the services that you provide. For instance, it happens very often, and maybe it's a way of understanding that sometimes you have facilitators which come from, let's say we have a project between Italy, Spain, Poland, and Romania. And one of the facilitators come from Romania and one of the facilitators come from Poland, and the project is being implemented in Poland. So naturally, you're going to have to pay the salary to the facilitator also who comes from Romania because he's also going to work. So yeah, that's very much agreed with the partners also, so that you don't assume that they can do something,
All right.
and then it turns out that they don't have the resources. And then who has the problem? You, who has to explain that to your national agency that we were supposed to do something and now we don't.
All right. Well, that's a lot of information that I didn't know before. So I think, I don't know, in this moment I cannot think about anything else because you were really giving very comprehensive answers.